I think it's that, yeah.
Yep, I got 5. So. We'll do roll call, or do you want me to say this blurb first?
I think the 3 bullet points are important, so you start that and then I'll do roll call.
The CRC meeting is being held under the guidance and provided by Governor Holcomb's executive order and the Culver Town Council resolution of 2020-002. And it's also being recorded on Microsoft Teams, and participation in the meeting is consent to be recorded, and the rebroadcast of the recorded meeting. The recorded meeting will be posted on the Culver YouTube site. And also, anybody in the audience or whatever, silence your cell phones so that they just shake off the table instead of ringing.
So roll call, Ms. Schuman.
Here.
Mr. Peric here, Ms. Ricciardi,
Here?
Mr. Rogers.
Here.
Mr. Cleavenger.
Here.
Mr. Oosterbaan here.
Okay. Pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we've all received Mr. Peric's minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the October
So moved.
18th? Have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Marty. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is Ginny on? Okay.
Yes, I am.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the town manager report.
Okay. Sorry, I can't be there in person. I've been a little sick today. In the report, the main thing I wanted to go over with you was that TIF review. I sent you the documents from Phil Facenda. And the one thing to note in that document that shows parcels that we would likely take out of the TIF area. We currently don't have a list of what might potentially be added. When Bill Cleavenger and I met with Heidi from Baker Tilly, we essentially went over a tab on the spreadsheet that she didn't realize was there that had some potential properties we might want to add. Several of those, though, were residential. So Bill and I questioned whether or not we could do that. So Heidi's going to review that list and get back to us. I'm hoping we hear from her soon so that Phil can add any to that document if we do choose to add some properties. Right now, the properties we reviewed for taking out are all in TIF 1. So the next step is for you all to review those between now and next Monday to vote on accepting that document. The Plan Commission will follow your meeting and vote. And in the meantime, I'm working on getting a map so that we can see visually which ones would come out to also ensure that none of them interfere with the contiguous nature of the TIF area. I told Sally that since you have a TIF map in the council room, at the very least, we can sticky note that map to be able to visually show you that. But right now we're trying to get the county, one of the county offices to create a map for us. And that is a preference of Phil Facenda's to include in the documents. After you and Plan Commission would vote next Monday, it would go to the town council on Tuesday. And assuming we get all that done, we can fit these additions and deletions in this calendar year, so they would take effect next year. The other thing that occurred since our last meeting is we did have the economic development workshops, and quite a large group of people gathered over 2 days and formed a steering committee. This committee is calling itself Crossroads Culver, modeled much after the Marshall County Crossroads team. There will be 4 subcommittees reporting into that steering committee that we're still recruiting members for. Those 4 subcommittees are built around quality of place, business development, marketing and promotions, and building leadership capacity. Those are kind of the 4 key areas that we came out of the work sessions with that group. And that was also after sort of looking at challenges and gaps in Culver last winter. If you have more questions about how all that worked out, I'm happy to walk you through it. And I will email all of you as a team sort of an executive summary of those workshops. I've given that to the town council, and I don't think I've given it to CRC yet. So I'll get that passed out tonight. Everything else on the town manager report is somewhat status quo, except I did want to point out one thing with the Lake Max Phase 2 project that you might not be aware of. The contractor approached the town with moving Phase 4 ahead of Phase 3. The first 2 phases are almost complete, and that's the work you've seen happen down Washington Street and then head over across Jefferson to the back alley behind some of the commercial buildings on Main Street there. The next phase would have been Phase 3 going down Plymouth Street, and then Phase 4 was going to be the south end of town. And because of the amount of concrete that would get poured on Phase 3 and the length of Plymouth Street and some of the complex issues there, the contractor wants to do Phase 4 first. So we've sought permission from IDEM to do that, mainly because weather's getting colder and they want to address Phase 3 in the spring. So if anyone asks, that's what's going on from a scheduling standpoint with that project. Otherwise, everything else in that report is somewhat status quo.
Thank you, Jenny. And I'm glad you didn't come. Whatever you got, we don't want it.
Hopefully none of you gets it. I
The
think
next
it's
item
going
on the
around.
agenda is financial report, which we have the draft of the financial report. But we'll vote on that at the next meeting when financials have been resolved. So, next item on the agenda would be approval of claims. And you've all received the claims. Majority are from Troy for the portion of, I think, Phase 2.
All the NDOT projects.
Yeah, all the NDOT projects.
I move that we approve the claims as presented.
Do you have a second?
I'll second it with the proviso. I think the last line, there was a typo in there for the visitor center, the invoice number, I think, and the invoice date, I think needed to be corrected in the document that I saw. So I just wanted to point that out.
I'll cross it out and fix it.
It seemed like it totaled or something like that. The Excel sheet got in there a little sideways, but otherwise I'm fine with the numbers.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I put in here the TIF review project. And that's basically what Jenny and Bill were working on.
And I think just a reminder, Sally, about the meeting next Monday is all we really need for that.
Yeah, we'll have that for the following meeting. And by the time that we get the next meeting, what Jenny sent didn't have the names and addresses that went with the parcel numbers, which makes it kind of hard to figure out. And Unfortunately, my internet was down or disappeared off my computer earlier today, so
I can translate those for you guys if you want, Sally. And the spreadsheet that I have that Paul, Bill, and I worked on, if I just enter the parcel number, it'll show me the address. So I can send you guys a list separate from that document that Phil gave you to show you addresses, if that helps.
yeah, that would
help.
help.
Yep, I'll put it together tonight and send it out to you guys.
Okay, that would be great. So I guess the next thing on the agenda would be the update from your last broadband meeting.
Sure. The task force met on November 9th. And Ms. Monroe briefed us that AT&T had requested a meeting with Culver. The task force also discussed the need to engage a technically competent consultant to assist us in the decision-making process. And one of the vendors we had met with a month ago, Surf Broadband, there's an expression of interest agreement. The task force didn't feel that the town was overly obligated in signing that document, but that document will be referred to Jim Cleavenger for review prior to it being signed. And finally, the task force is working on putting together a comprehensive list of frequently asked questions and talking points, so that if, a particular question comes up 3 times, the task force and CRC will have a consistent response to all those inquiries, and perhaps something that gets published, obviously after the consultant's blessing, to make sure we're technically correct on, various platforms. Town Gown and Lake comes to mind. Anyway, that's where we are, Sally.
Okay. Sounds good. I think this is going to be a short meeting because our next item is TIF review, and basically it's just a question. If you have any questions on the TIF that we're looking at and what we're doing with taking some out, putting some in. Hopefully getting it finished before the end of the year, which is the deadline for this year. So that next year it'll be appropriate. The next item on the agenda is public input. Is there anybody on online that has any questions or input? Anyone in the audience that has any questions or input? Okay. Member input? Karen, do you have anything to add?
I'm good.
I'm not gonna add anything else.
Okay. Marty?
I just would ask if AT&T is now doing broadband, in communities?
Yeah, so my understanding is they're aware of, at a high level of kind of what we want to achieve. We want to have fiber running to every house, business, and so forth. And they've requested a meeting, and Jenny's going to be at that meeting and probably report back to us to find out,
Okay,
what they're inquiring about.
right.
But it's positive that, a vendor of that caliber has reached out to the town and said, hey, I want to talk to you about something.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they're checking a box. It's hard to tell, but we'll find out.
Thank you.
I know a few years back, they sent a representative to one of the CRC meetings on broadband. And he sat through the meeting and then left, but nothing ever came of it. So hopefully this is more informative.
Yeah.
Bill, do you have anything?
I have nothing, thank you.
John?
Nothing.
Great. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You can make it to your 6:30 meeting
I can.
and you will be on time. Or
I'll
five,
look over prepared.
5:30 meeting.